SKOL Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, there is something big going on behind the scenes in Minnesota right now. There is serious buzz that the long-term plan on offense might get ripped up, plus there is a veteran being floated as a possible return to the team. On top of that, there is a young player getting put on the spot, and even people close to him getting into public spats and stirring up major controversy. And to wrap it all up, a division rival is worried about a purple takeover in its own stadium. Stick around until the end because the last story completely changes the tone of this week. But before we dig into every detail of this breakdown, let me talk to you real quick. Hit that subscribe button. It does not cost you anything, it is free, and it helps this fan-driven conversation a ton. While you are at it, drop a like, because that tells YouTube to push this video out to even more Vikings fans. And leave a comment too, because this space is all yours. Honestly, this talk about a real quarterback competition in Minnesota hits different for anyone who has lived this team for decades. When I hear Mike Florio putting it out there that the Vikings could go after Mac Jones in 2026, I can already hear the noise in the stands from here. This is not a random rumor, it is the kind of idea that pokes straight at the belief in J.J. McCarthy and that weighs heavily inside the Purple Faithful. It really does. To be honest with you, I get why this story picked up steam. Mac Jones, even far from perfect, is putting together a much more solid run in San Francisco than McCarthy has shown so far in Minnesota. Jones is completing close to 70% of his passes, throwing for more than 2,000 yards with 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 5 wins in 8 starts, while our young guy is still battling mechanics and accuracy with 8 interceptions in 5 games. It hurts to say, but that is the reality. Among fans at the bar, the conversation is exactly this. The roster looks ready, but the quarterback still has not clicked. The defense holds up, there is talent all around, and it feels like they are still missing that ice-cold guy to run the offense when the game tightens up. Then along comes this idea of Mac Jones arriving to compete directly with McCarthy next season, to really compete with no guaranteed job. Brutal? Yes. But the NFL does not care about hurt feelings, especially for a team trying to climb back to the top of the NFC. The upside, if you can call it that, is that Jones's contract is not outrageous. It would be one more year of team control, a low cap hit, a situation very similar to what Sam Darnold had in Minnesota in 2024. Come in, prove you can handle the pressure, and earn a spot in the league. If it works, great for the team. If it does not, you move on and reboot the plan. And Vikings fans are already used to rebooting quarterback plans, right? There is one detail nobody can ignore, though. If the front office really pulls the trigger and brings in Mac Jones, the message to McCarthy is crystal clear. They do not fully trust him. The comparison to what happened with Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis fits perfectly for that reason. A veteran coming in because he believes he can take the job from the first-round pick. It is heavy for the locker room and heavy on the young quarterback's mindset. Even so, the path is still in J.J. McCarthy's hands. The final stretch starts now at Lambeau Field, a huge game, hostile environment, and a season walking a tightrope. If he catches fire and stacks strong performances, all this Mac Jones talk cools off quickly. But if the roller coaster continues, my friend, this is where you get that true Vikings fan read. The front office will not hesitate to shake things up. Drop a comment if you agree, and stay until the end because the last story is a big one, and the next piece of news cuts even deeper for everyone who has watched a lot of quarterbacks come and go in Minnesota. Look, just the idea of the Vikings even thinking about bringing Kirk Cousins back shakes any purple heart that has suffered with this team. We are staring at a 4-6 record, a painful 19-17 loss to the Bears, last place in the division, and of course those quick fix solutions start popping up. That is when Alex K. from Bleacher Report comes in, saying that Minnesota's answer might be to revive that old partnership with Cousins. It is nostalgia mixed with desperation, to put it bluntly. The situation is simple and uncomfortable. J.J. McCarthy still looks raw, the numbers are shaky, the inconsistency is real, and this roster's window is not going to stay open forever. His on-target rate is way below the league average, with 8 interceptions in 5 games and fan confidence melting away. At the same time, people remember that when Cousins was healthy, this offense worked. Kevin O'Connell's playbook looked completely different, and the run game opened up because the passing game demanded real respect. It is funny how memory gets prettier when the present hurts, right? To be honest with you, I completely understand anyone who looks at this moment and says, bring the veteran back, let us win now. The argument is strong. 13 wins and 4 losses in 2022, chemistry with O'Connell, a productive offense, and respect across the NFC. The head coach knows exactly how Cousins processes things in the pocket. Cousins knows the system, and it is almost plug and play. That matters when we talk about Defend the North, because nobody here wants to see a good roster wasted on an endless learning season. But there is another side to this, and it is huge. Cousins is in Atlanta on a long-term deal through 2027, which would cost draft picks, money, and part of the future plan. And even more important, it sends a heavy message to McCarthy. We do not trust you to lead us right now. Picture the locker room. Team leaders watching, and the group wondering whether the young quarterback project is already being shelved. Things can turn sour quickly if the communication is not perfect. Among fans, the divide is clear. There is one group saying, "Enough with the experiments, let the kid take his lumps and learn," and another group saying, "Bring Cousins back now. I am done with mediocre seasons." And this is where you get that true Vikings fan perspective from someone who has ridden this roller coaster for years. The truth is, if McCarthy does not respond soon, what is now just speculation can turn into a very real off-season plan. So drop a comment if you agree. Is it worth paying the price to have Cousins as a bridge while McCarthy tries to adjust? Or does that completely destroy the young quarterback's confidence? Stay until the end because the last story is big, and the next update already starts to show how patience inside the organization is being tested, snap by snap, throw by throw. Honestly, this third situation with J.J. McCarthy is the kind that leaves fans torn between genuine hope and real concern. We started the season talking about development, time, patience, but 5 starts later, the conversation has turned into a warning siren. The kid went down hurt, missed weeks, came back, and now the narrative is no longer just natural growth. Reality is knocking at the door, and the Vikings nation feels that with every off-target throw. To be straight with you, when we look at the cold numbers, there is no way to sugarcoat it. He is completing under 55% of his passes, with 8 interceptions and only 6 touchdowns, the offense sputtering and drives stalling at midfield. Since he returned, the accuracy has dropped even more, with about half his throws being completed and 5 interceptions in that stretch. And it is not just about stats, it is balls sailing high, late throws, slow reads. It feels like the offense is always an inch away from completely falling apart. And to be honest, it already has in a few games, right? Inside the locker room, it is starting to hit as well. Jeremy Fowler says there is no hiding the accuracy issue. Dan Graziano points out visible frustration on offense. And we all saw Justin Jefferson explode on the sideline, ripping his helmet off. That is not just a random scene. That is a star tired of seeing chances slip away. This roster was built to compete now, not to be a permanent science experiment, and the fan base feels that clash between the plan and reality every single Sunday. At the same time, the internal message is still one of belief in McCarthy's work, character, and upside. They say he needs reps, time, continuity, and that the plan was exactly this: compete while the kid grows. But here is the uncomfortable part. This team has the most expensive payroll in the league. The roster is costly and the clock is ticking. There are 7 games left to prove that the investment around the quarterback was not wasted. There is also the schedule factor. Insiders say this next stretch is theoretically more favorable, with a chance to stack wins, build confidence, and put the team back in the playoff hunt. If he uses these games to cut out the easy mistakes, hit the layups, and stop trying to play hero on every snap, the story can still flip. We cling to those slim chances, right? That is what being a fan is. But this is where you get that Vikings fan point of view. If he does not show clear progress in this final stretch, the talk of give him time is going to become, we need a new plan very quickly. The way the franchise approaches next offseason will be the definitive sign of what they really think of McCarthy. Drop a comment if you agree, stay until the end because the last story hits hard. And get ready, because the next piece of news is the most delicate one. When even people close to the quarterback start affecting the team's image in public. Now, when even your quarterback's personal coach is getting into it with a franchise legend, you can feel just how sensitive things are in Minnesota. The story of Greg Holcomb calling Chris Carter a clown over a comment about the game against the Bears is exactly the kind of thing that makes any fan scratch their head. It is not just one bad tweet, it is a symptom of a tense environment surrounding J.J. McCarthy. To be honest with you, I get the human side of Holcomb. He has been with McCarthy since the quarterback was a kid in middle school, saw him grow up, worked on his mechanics, believed in the dream. Watching the kid get hammered after a game where he threw the go-ahead touchdown at the end is going to hit you emotionally. We have all said worse on the couch, right? But there is a very clear line. You cannot go on social media and insult a Hall of Famer from your own franchise, especially not Chris Carter, who carried this logo for so many years. Was Carter's comment harsh? Yes. That did you watch the first 59 minutes? With a thumbs-down vibe stings because it exposes exactly what we have been feeling. One brilliant drive does not erase an entire bad game, but he spoke as someone who knows pressure in Minnesota as well as anyone. Then Holcomb fires back with a curse word, calls him a clown, and just like that, it becomes a national story. Instead of talking about route adjustments, reads, and mechanics, everyone is talking about social media drama and bruised egos. After that came the apology letter. It was thoughtful, well-written, full of respect, admitting he crossed the line, acknowledging Chris Carter's stature, and talking about the community, the fan base, and trying to act with more class. Then, shortly after, he was advised to take the letter down. That left everything feeling awkward. He apologized, but the message disappeared from public view, and he said he was asked to remove it. It is confusing, really confusing, that is the truth. In practice, this shows something that only people who have followed this team for decades can feel in their bones. When the quarterback is playing well, this kind of soap opera does not even get started. When the offense is rolling, nobody is digging up tweets, screenshotting replies, or questioning tone. The problem is that McCarthy's play has been so up and down that any comment becomes a spark in a pool of gasoline. Fans look at all of this and wonder if his inner circle is already this on edge, what is going on in the kid's head? This is where you get that real Vikings fan read from someone who knows that respecting franchise legends is not a detail, it is part of the team's identity. Drop a comment if you agree, if you think Holcomb was just defending his guy or if he completely crossed the line. Stay until the end because the last story is big and the next one leaves the individual drama behind and goes straight into the rivalry. Over in Green Bay, the Packers head coach is literally worried about his stadium being flooded with purple. It is funny how in border battle week, something always pops up to turn up the heat even more, right? This time it was not even a player talking, it was Matt LaFleur practically begging Packers fans not to sell their tickets to Vikings fans at Lambeau Field. When I see a head coach worried about purple in the stands, I know there is real respect there. And it clearly bothers them that Minnesota has gone in there twice in a row and walked out with wins. To be honest with you, I understand why it gets under their skin. It is becoming more and more common to see entire sections of green and gold seating dotted with purple, Vikings flags waving, and chants echoing in an opponent's building. LaFleur comes out and says, "I hope our fans show up in full force and do not sell their tickets to Vikings fans, because we have seen that happen before." That is basically a public admission that our fan base changes the game day atmosphere. And it really does. You can feel it sitting on your own couch, but this goes both ways. In Minnesota, when the Vikings face the Packers at US Bank Stadium, everyone knows green jerseys show up all over the place too. There have been Green Bay touchdowns that sounded almost like Vikings scores because the crowd noise was so loud. So when LaFleur starts in with that storyline, the longtime Vikings fan remembers right away, "Man, you invade our place too. Do not act like the victim here." That is the rivalry in a nutshell. Back and forth, jab and counter jab, and nobody in this matchup is innocent. In the middle of all this talk, context matters. The Packers are coming off ugly losses, including a bad one to a weak team, and the heat on LaFleur's seat is starting to rise. There are already whispers about a hot seat and a front office wanting more information before committing long-term. At the same time, they are still favorites in this game by more than a field goal, with the line making the Vikings almost a full touchdown underdog. That is a clear message from the sports books. Nobody trusts J.J. McCarthy yet. It hurts to read, but that is what the numbers say. And the situation for Minnesota is brutal and simple. They basically need a run of 6 wins and 1 loss down the stretch to seriously chase a playoff spot. That means the game at Lambeau is not just about rivalry, it is about survival for this season. So you put everything together. The Packers head coach asking for a purple-free stadium, Vikings fans desperate to buy tickets and turn the place into a mini Minnesota, and a team of ours that is inconsistent but knows that if it finds its rhythm, it can silence half the state of Wisconsin in one afternoon. It is the kind of game that sticks in your memory, for better or worse. This is where you get that authentic Vikings fan view from someone who has seen border battles turn into pure joy and total heartbreak in a matter of minutes. Drop a comment if you agree, if you think LaFleur's concern about our fan base is respect or pure fear. Stick around for the conclusion because I'm still going to tie all of this together. The pressure on McCarthy, the Mac Jones talk, the shadow of Cousins, the tense mood among fans, and this game at Lambeau that could flip the entire storyline of the season. After all of this, you can feel that this Vikings moment is one of those that define an era. The future at quarterback under debate, Mac Jones rumors, the ghost of Cousins hanging over everything, McCarthy taking a reality check, his personal coach clashing with a legend, and a rival worried about a purple invasion at Lambeau. It is beautiful and painful at the same time, because it shows how big this team is in our lives. I still believe all of this pressure can turn into a real turning point. Drop a comment. This space belongs to everyone who lives the purple faithful. This team gets to us every single day, so stick around for the next video. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go!